Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. The spotter said it was clear. It wasn't clear, and, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. And so, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Meet Me at Applebee's, your number one unrefined motorsports podcast. It's Brien here once again with Rob and Ashley with our special returning guest, Kyle Ayala. And we're here to talk about the Darlington weekend. Folks, how we doing this week?
I'm doing well. Finally starting to feel like a human again after a weekend in the South Carolina, North Carolina humidity.
Humidity, hold on. It was not humid. That was not humid. If you think that was humid, you've not experienced southern humidity. Let's just get that right out of the
All right, New York and Ohio. Yeah, let's go over to someone who actually knows what it's about. Let's talk to Truelove here.
Dude, I lived in fucking Florida for 4 years. I do know what southern humidity is like. Get out of here.
I did stand out in a parking lot all day Saturday in the heat.
Oh.
So, I mean, it wasn't peak humidity yet.
No,
but it certainly wasn't, enjoyable.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it certainly was a far cry from what I experienced at Thompson 1 week prior, where I was shivering my little dick off in 29-degree weather. So
I went from 75 on Monday to 30 on Tuesday.
Extremes.
So,
yeah, it's cold here too.
Yeah.
How you doing, Kyle? You're back. You're still in Carolina, where you belong. And how you living?
I'm good. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Rob. I just got back to feeling like a normal human being again. But yeah, thanks for having me again this week, and I will do my best to not talk over anybody.
You already got strike one before the show started, so yeah. Truelove will keep you in line.
Mm-hmm. So, so Darlington was this past weekend, and 3 out of 4 of us were there. But before we start with what happened at the track, Rob got to town. Well, he got to the Carolinas a little bit early on Friday, and he did some stuff on Friday. So, Rob, let's talk about that.
Yeah, we did a little darfing around. I showed up around, 10 a.m. in Charlotte on Friday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to any other racing I had hoped to. A whole lot of shit happening in the area. I know Carolina Speedway had a big sprint car show that Ricky Stenhouse ran. I don't know where he finished, but apparently that track was packed out. Didn't get to go to that. But my brother-in-law and I did haul up towards the Triangle because my wife was on a business trip up there, and it seemed like a perfect excuse when we were going to pick her up to go check out the Petty Museum, which I guess neither of us had ever done. I thought my brother-in-law had been there, Tommy, friend of the program, but I guess not. So we decided to stop in on our way up there, and we talked about the Petty Museum on the show before, so I'll skip all the details about what's there, but I'm just going to say you really, really got to check this place out. Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of racing history there, obviously, and you really get some insight into just how much Richard Petty likes to collect stuff.
Yes, and little trinkets and doodads.
I mean, the gun section alone is just unreal. I'd pay to see that. The Bobby Allison Browning he has in there. A bunch of guns with the serial number 43 on them, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, all the signatures and accolades he received from God knows where. Every corner of the world checking into that guy. And anyway, again, great museum. And as we were about to wrap up, we went out and looked at Lee's Garage, which is a protected landmark in the state of North Carolina. Looks, I guess, pretty close to what it did when they were still building race cars out of there in the late 40s and 50s. And we're walking back in, and we enter the gift shop, and whatever petty cousin is working the counter walks up, and she's like... And there's another older couple in there with us, so there's 5 of us in total with the woman working there, and she goes, "Hey, y'all want to see him?" Like he's some kind of like a baby giraffe emerging at the zoo. Yeah. And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I want to see him." And then he's like, "He's getting on his bike right now. If you go out there, you can talk to him." I was like, well, shit, I guess we'll go meet Richard Petty. And when we first...
give you a handful of pellets to feed him.
No, you got to pay for those. It's like $5 for a handful, and I was out of cash. But yeah, so we go out there, and sure enough, it's Richard Petty getting on his trike. When we got there, I kind of noticed the bike sitting out there. There was a big hat box on the back, and it had a couple of 43 stickers on it and the charity ride sticker. Nice. And I was like, I bet you that's Richard, because I'd heard he hangs out there all the time. And,
signing shit.
Yeah, which I think Truelove said this previously. Literally everything that could be signed in that museum, it has been signed by Richard Petty. Mm-hmm. Even things that don't belong to him have his signature on there. It's unbelievable. And it's a great signature. I'm telling you, everything in the gift shop comes with a Richard Petty signature on it. So.
Yep.
And it's
no
pretty
upcharge for it either.
No. I bought some of the 1992 farewell die-casts for some friends for their home tracks. I got Brady a Richmond one signed by Richard Petty, and got a couple for myself. And yeah, it was, again, did not break the bank. But anyway, so yeah, sure enough, Richard Petty's out there, and we walk out there, and instead of just being a grown-ass man about it and going up and introducing myself and saying hi, we all just kind of like, my brother-in-law and I and this other couple just kind of stayed our distance and pretended to look at this flag stand that's sitting out there. There's a big flag stand from, I forget what. Yeah. And we're all just kind of looking at it, scratching. And this, and of course, Richard, he obviously knows what's going on here. And he's like, he just goes, howdy, y'all. Thanks for coming out to the museum. It's good to see you. And then me and this guy kind of turn around and he's like, I'm about to go on a motorcycle ride. This is Richard. And then the two of us at the same time both say, well, hell, it's a good day for it, in unison. And I was like, well, that's it for me. So I didn't even bother to go shake his hand. I just went back inside and took a picture of him through the glass like he is a fucking zoo animal. And but still pretty cool. I mean, it's crazy how young he looks. I know he's probably getting infused with like children's blood or whatever shit, but
for sure.
He looks younger than all of us and our parents.
Yeah,
and
dude, he looks like he's got like some Botox and he's wearing tanner and stuff. He looks kind of insane, to be honest.
He looks like he looks good.
I mean, he looks good, but like he does, he should look closer to his age.
He looks like a wax statue of Richard Petty. But yeah, very nice guy, very gracious, and even in that little interaction, just the feeling you got from him, you can kind of tell why he became the king. Obviously his record is one thing, but just the way he interacts with people who are there to see him is something you don't see all that often, and he's still the best in the game when it comes to that sort of thing. So yeah, met the king, pretty badass. Did not feed him pellets, and then we went on our way, and we stumbled across, I forget the name of the trail, but there's a track that was featured on Lost Speedways.
Oh, yeah.
That is about 20 minutes from there, right on the outside of Durham. Mm-hmm. And we were running out of time. We were going to go check it out, but again, and I forget the name of the speedway, so I completely fucked that up.
It's a crazy word that I can never remember. I feel like it starts with an O.
Oh, it's Hillsboro Speedway. That's it.
Oh, Hillsboro. I was thinking the other one. It's like a Native American name.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember which one that is. But yeah, the Hillsboro Trail is right there. And that was featured on Lost Speedways at one point. So definitely going to have to go back up there and check it out. Obviously, the Richard Childress Museum is always worth a visit. And that's, probably 35 minutes away as well. So lots of cool stuff up there. Durham's kind of a neat town. I've never been there before. And yeah, that was pretty much my Friday. I took my bag of Richard Petty autographs, went and picked up the wife, and had a nice night with the family. And about that time, I'm sure Brien was packing his bags, getting ready. Kyle was getting his phone all packed up and ready to go to Darlington to go on a big adventure. We're foreshadowing here, of course.
I got in Friday afternoon and just got food with my parents and hung out with them for the night. And, I was planning on getting on the road early-ish Saturday because, on the way to the track, I was planning on getting there for practice and qualifying, which is at 12:30. And on the way there, I always stop there's a flea market in Florence. And I haven't found anything in a few years, but this year actually, I found one couple that had a few NASCAR shirts, one of which was a brand new Denny Hamlin 2009 Richmond Win t-shirt, which I guess could have been the universe foreshadowing what was to come on Sunday. But and from there, I went to the Gypsy tents at the track, which normally most of them are kind of way behind turn 4, like the parking lot behind the front stretch. It's where we usually park.
Yeah.
Usually there's all campers and shit on the left, but this year for some reason all the campers were pushed into one area and all the Gypsy tents were on the back stretch. So I did that, and again, the last few years I haven't found shit. This year there was somebody that had a tent that was just everything in it was $3 for $5, and it was a lot of trash, but I did pick up probably like a dozen or so shirts, one of which was a really cool Juan Pablo Montoya long sleeve that had really cool graphics on it. And then also there was the one tent with all the massively overpriced vintage shit. I overheard the woman talking because she had a Budmore era Wrangler crew shirt, and I overheard her saying, "Oh, Junior's coming over to buy it soon." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I wasn't gonna wait around for that. I've met Junior before, so whatever."
Yeah.
I've just been blowing air to...
I mean, whatever. I overheard a conversation with somebody else, regardless. Who the hell cares? But, made our way to the track and, did a quick walk around the merch area and got my zins and stuff and met up with Kyle, who, going back to last week, so Kyle was the one who took me up on my offer for the free ticket, which I actually had to ask him if he wanted it because he wasn't sure what his plans were yet, although he was going to ask me about it. And when I did, he had his shit all figured out. So we met up. Kyle, you got any interesting notes prior to our meeting or what?
No, my favorite part about going to Darlington, I realized this, my first race there last year is just driving there from Mooresville, going from Mooresville to Darlington. It's a beautiful drive.
Yeah.
I could even say the same thing about Martinsville. That's probably one of my favorite parts about going to these races that are close to Mooresville. So I always tell myself that I'm going to stop and, look at all these things, and I end up not doing it just because I end up in my own little trance. But I was kind of bummed when I got there because I didn't realize when I got there that they had a thing in the museum for Bill Elliott's $85 million bill thing. And
oh shit!
I assumed that the museum was closed on Saturday, but once we had already gotten in there, and I saw that Chase Elliott's Instagram had something about him being in there. I wish that I looked it up beforehand, but they were open on Saturday until 4 or 5 o'clock.
Oh, damn.
So I wish that I went and checked that out, but I will keep that in mind for when I go in the fall.
Yeah, that Bill Elliott car is not going anywhere, so it'll be there for you when you go back.
Yeah, I saw that place as well, and we just kind of ran out of time.
Dude, I mean, I've been going to Darlington since 2013, and I didn't go until last year for my first time when I was just visiting my parents on a non-race weekend, and we had nothing to do, and we decided to drive up to the track and check it out. And it's definitely a good museum. It's worth checking out, especially if there's nobody in there, because then you can there's definitely, if nobody's in there, you can kind of go over the barricade and get closer looks at shit if you want, and nobody will say anything to you. So it's worth checking out. Kid Rock, or Tony Stewart's Kid Rock car is in there too. So
no shit.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say Kid Rock wax statue was in there. I was going to be like,
I guess
no, it was just Richard Petty.
But yeah, so from there we, Kyle and I went up and we watched practice and qualifying, and Kyle did expertly predict William Byron was going to get the pole, as he did. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then from there we just stuck around and watched the Xfinity race, and it was a pretty good race. I mean,
we're just gonna glaze over Ryan Preece in P2.
Oh yeah, well yeah, Ryan Preece was P2, which we were all very excited about. And yeah, the Xfinity race was good. Started off with Allgaier leading a good chunk of the first part of it. I think Bell was up there for a minute. Eventually Chastain got up there, and I guess he did some. I don't remember this, but I guess he roughed up Bell a little bit, passing him at one point.
And Elliott.
And Elliott. Well, that's fine. And I didn't realize he was in a JRM car. For some reason, I didn't put two and two together there. But I'm trying to think. What I don't. It's again. I was there and I watched the fucking race, but I can't remember anything incredibly interesting happening. I mean, obviously it was great to see all the cars. Going back to the throwback weekend debate. I mean, the Xfinity race is always going to have the better paint schemes, just because the sponsors aren't as financially invested, and they'll let them go a little bit nuts with it. So
yeah, no doubt.
A lot of really good looking cars. And also too, I should mention, I got these tickets from the fan rewards giveaway, and I expected them to just be general admission ones, but they were actually the Tyler Tower tickets, which are a little bit more expensive. Like, they're the premium. Like, there's only 2 options to buy Xfinity tickets, and those are the premium ones. So
it's premium about them.
Well, the Tyler Tower is just more expensive. It's like an extra $10 or $15 to have reserved seats. The rest of them are just GA. So, but again, it's also Xfinity, so you can kind of sit where the fuck you want. So it doesn't really matter. But
they were great seats.
Yeah, we were right by the finish line, so we had a great view.
Nice. Yeah, I watched that race from the center of Birkdale, which is it's not a whites only shopping center that you can live in, but there was all colors and creeds and everybody shopping and living in there. But certainly the architecture and the level of stores that are in there, it's certainly it's implied that that's probably what the original designer intended. But much to my surprise, again, I was out with the family all day, just hanging out, doing family stuff. Did go to that antique mall in Mooresville, Mallsville. That's where I went later. But yeah, I forget what it's called, but the big mill in the downtown area that has booth 43 or something like that. 34. Yeah, Main Street Antiques. Yeah, that place rules. If you're a diecast guy of any generation, there's something for you there. I had about $400 worth of dirt late model stuff in my hands until I talked myself out of it. Walked away with a Jack Hodenshield 124 as my one little birthday gift to myself, because I couldn't justify spending $100 on a Freddie Smith diecast, even though that's going to eat away at me for the rest of my life. But anyway, ended up at the mall. Ladies went off shopping, and kind of stuck me and my brother-in-law with the kid. And I was like, well, shit, I'm going to miss this race. I'm going to have to watch it on my phone. My phone's dying. And off in the distance, I hear the sound of Adam Alexander and whoever else. And I'm like, what bar is that coming from? And they're just playing it in the middle of this like field with kids running around playing cornhole, beating the shit out of each other, and there's screaming children, and then the Xfinity race on this giant screen. And then I learned that Birkdale will let you go get a beer from pretty much any restaurant, and you can just walk around with it. So I found me a little Adirondack chair and took my beer and sat there, and I watched it out there in the sun, and it was quite a nice little afternoon for Rob there. Yeah, it was good to watch Brandon Jones break his winless streak. First win back at his return to JGR.
I can't say I was upset by that. Like, I can't say I'm a Brandon Jones fan, but with all the struggles he's had the last few years, and I still got a little bit of sentiment for him for getting fucked over by Ty Gibbs that one time. So it's nice to see him back in victory lane, and he earned it. He was up front all day, and I'm trying to think. It wasn't a green-white checkered, but I feel like there was a late caution in the race. I can't.
There was
remember.
A late caution.
There was a late one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was also when I placed the worst bet in NASCAR history. It was only $1, but it was a two-pick parlay with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting a top 5 and then Ty Dillon getting a top 10. $1 would have paid $350 or $390, because it's so unlikely. But to foreshadow the Cup race, Ty Dillon actually did run pretty good, so almost got halfway there.
Yeah, almost.
I only watched the highlights on YouTube afterwards, which were dog trash. But my only notes from Saturday were so every week the junior motorsports drivers, all of them go to the JRM hauler and do an autograph signing for the fans.
Yes.
And this week they very conveniently left Sammy Smith out of the autographs.
Yes, they did.
So probably smart. I don't know if y'all saw this tweet on Twitter, but it was referring to Austin Hill Dale Jr. had tweeted, to hear Austin Hill, spoke up in the Xfinity drivers meeting to suggest he could be one to mentor the kids was the best laugh I had all week.
That was pretty rich.
Yeah.
I'll give Austin a little credit because Junior cleared this up on his show that it wasn't Austin that suggested that. Like, somebody told Austin to do that. Like, I don't know if it was a PR person or what, but somebody told him he should do that. So it wasn't necessarily his idea, but yeah, still incredibly funny to have him. Yeah, he should be one of the veterans.
Yeah, the voice of reason, Austin Hill.
Yeah.
And weren't y'all sitting next to some interesting footwear in the grandstands on?
Oh yeah. So
Saturday?
when we got there, for practice and qualifying, and the row over from us was this older gentleman, and he had like a gecko and a bunch of other ridiculous tattoos on his calf. But then I also saw that he took his shoes off for comfort, so he was just bare socked on the grandstands there, which you know.
Kind of halfway there for comfort.
Yeah. Yeah, at least he didn't have the toes out. So
maybe he saw that video of that guy getting his toes sucked at Daytona, and he didn't want to fall victim. Saying loose mouth. Is that maybe out around?
Oh God.
I just want to know who Bandit was that was tattooed on him.
Yeah, seriously.
Kyle, you got any Saturday notes from your experience at the racetrack?
I personally enjoyed it. I mean, it was kind of reminiscent of last year's Xfinity race in Charlotte, where, you know, you're watching Brandon Jones chase down Chase Elliott to try to win. But it ended up being the complete opposite. And for me, being a Chase fan, it was really cool to kind of watch him work his way up from the back all the way up to the front. We ended up getting a second place finish. But yeah, with Ross Chastain in there running the 9 car, I was confused out of my mind the whole time. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm getting mad at the 9 car, and I'm like, why am I getting mad at the 9 car? And then it's like, shit, dude, you're getting mad. And then yeah, I literally kept having this like internal conflict going, like, I don't know what's going on. Somebody help me. But no, I enjoyed the race. It was cool. Like I said, I just kind of sat there and watched Chase do his thing, and, you know, pit crew kind of had some weird issues going on the whole time. I watched them throw a wedge bar underneath the car at one point in time, and they had to lift that up and have someone crawl underneath there and get it, and then they realized, oh, we got to fix this problem. So yeah, I don't know. It was kind of cool just to watch all that happen, and see Chase kind of do his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was it. Yeah, good for Brandon Jones. I don't really have a strong opinion on him myself, but yeah, it's kind of cool to watch him do his thing as well. So yeah.
98 winless streak, 98 race winless streak.
There you go. I'll say I had Bojangles twice that day for breakfast and on the way back from the track. And Bojangles, I don't know if they have it at the Bojangles up here, but they were advertising a Bowberry chicken and waffle sandwich. Oh. Which I had to try that, and I don't suggest getting it. Like, you know, honey and like maple are great with chicken, but like a berry flavored syrup does not work. So don't bother trying that, folks. It's not worth getting.
Also, the Bojangler is back, which is apparently a fish sandwich, which makes sense if you kind of read it on a page. You know, because I'm not going to explain it, but I did not get a chance to try this. But we did go to the Bojangles, and me and my sister-in-law both ordered the chicken sandwich, of course, as you do. And they only had one that was thawed and ready to go in the fryer. So
Horrible.
it ended up, we got through it.
All over it.
We cut it, we split it in half like King Solomon with the baby. And
Listen, here's a Bojangles tip for next time. Don't go with a chicken sandwich. Get the chicken biscuit.
we got one of those too.
Okay, I was going to say, that is the superior chicken biscuit of all the fast food chicken biscuits.
That is correct.
And also, too, another note from Saturday night. So Kyle came back with me and crashed at my parents' house, and I forget what we were talking about, but we were watching TV and hanging out with my parents and talking about racing and stuff, and I educated my parents on the legend of Mikey and Dale and their love affair, and they got a kick out of that. So, yeah.
It's good to share some truth once in a while.
Complete with AI imaging and everything.
Yeah, that's a real picture, buddy. We'll post it again.
But yeah, so I guess that leads us into Sunday, and we met up with Rob and everybody. But before we met up and watched the race, a lot of drivers are doing appearances, both current drivers and older drivers, and it was pointed out to me that Dave Marcis was going to be doing an appearance with both Mike Wallace and Randy LaJoy, and I was kind of looking forward to just completely ignoring those two and just meeting Dave, but when we got to the fan zone, me, Kyle, and my stepdad, Dave was up there on stage with Kyle Petty talking about stuff, and once he was done, I didn't have to wait for the autograph session. He just kind of went over by the guardrail and was signing autographs for people, and I went over and, said hello, and I introduced myself, and I told him about buying all this shit from his old friend, and he kind of got a kick out of that and got my picture, and that was nice. So
cool.
That was the one little goal I had for the weekend, so I got to accomplish that, and then, from there, the Row 22 boys
That's right.
convened. I will say, Rob and Kyle will vouch for this. Turn 4 at Darlington is definitely one of the better places you can sit there, and it's become my seat of choice for the Cup races the last few years.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. There's not especially like right in the middle where we were at, you see absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, pit stops are a little difficult to see at the end of pit row, but not really. You can pretty much see everything that happens, which is great, and it's not the case in turn 1, I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
That shot coming out of turn 3 into 4 and them hitting them stripes and all that, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
I would take that shot and that vantage point over watching pit stops personally.
100%.
I might, I think any race that I go there going forward, I'll sit up in that section.
Yeah, for sure. This is my first time at Darlington. I'd never been before. I tend to spend most of my fun bucks on going to dirt races and short track stuff these days. But despite a waning interest in spending a lot of money to travel and see NASCAR, Darlington has always stayed pretty much at the top of the list of places I've wanted to go see that I haven't got a chance to go check out. So I was really excited to wake up on Sunday morning. It felt like Christmas, hopping in the car with my brother-in-law and heading down there. And again, like Kyle mentioned, it's a nice little drive down from the Charlotte area to Darlington County. Stopped in and got a couple of Johnny bootleggers. I think we got there around 11 o'clock because we were trying to fit in basically all the stuff that Brien and Kyle did on Saturday on Sunday afternoon. So put a bootlegger in me. We went into the track to check out all the fan zone and see what was going on, check out all the old cars they have parked out there. There's some pretty rad shit out there for sure.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, on Saturday I wore my Junior Johnson shirt that has his old number 3 Chevy, I think it's a Bel Air. I can't remember what model it is, but that car happened to be there, so I did get a photo with that after the Saturday race.
Yeah, there was some cool stuff sitting out there, and I will say about the Darlington fan zone and just that event in general, I don't know if it's always like this at Darlington or just for the throwback weekend, but you want to talk driver appearances? Like, you couldn't take 5 steps without there being something else happening. There's Noah Gregson building something out of fucking Legos over here, and then on stage is Kyle Petty with whoever, and then the Ford tent had all their drivers, Brad Keselowski, Zane Smith, just kind of coming in and saying it was a pretty neat deal, especially if you're looking to meet drivers and see them, which it's not something I typically seek out, but it was kind of neat to stand there and see all these guys interacting with fans.
The one thing about that I'll say is, well, first off, compared to when I was a kid, like, nobody did any driver appearances. I think the only driver that I met at any races, prior to the last few years was Harry Gant, and that was in '95, when for some reason, even though he retired, he still went to every race and signed autographs afterwards, which was weird. But yeah, I mean, it's something I've noticed at pretty much all tracks. There's a lot of driver appearances, but I mean, I think especially
trying to get
at
those
Darlington.
Points.
Yeah.
But yeah, we walked in, and like I said, we got to the fan zone first, and then within the first 45 seconds, we get cornered by some NASCAR media folks. And just a little backstory before I get into this part of it. I bought my brother-in-law a Mark Martin Viagra t-shirt like 12, 13 years ago. Mm-hmm. It sat in the dresser for years and years and years. He finally decides, he's like, what should I wear to the race, And I was like, you should put that fucking Viagra t-shirt on. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I had it. So he dug it out. He's like, I should cut the sleeves off this thing. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, you should. It's gonna look great. So he did. So he walks in wearing
I don't like that.
a sleeveless Mark Martin Viagra t-shirt, and I've got a one hot night t-shirt on. We look pretty cool, you know what I mean? And that's what the NASCAR people thought. It was like, hey, we're doing a quick segment and taking photos and videos of people wearing all their throwback gear. Can we get you guys real quick? You're like, sure. And then so they take a couple pictures of our shirts, and then they get the video guy, and it's like, can you guys just like clap or something? So I just open my mouth and I just start clapping. And then the girl goes, all right, cool, yeah, check NASCAR Instagram in about 30 minutes, and you'll see yourself. And sure enough, there's a slow-mo video of me and my brother-in-law, him wearing a Viagra t-shirt and me drunk on Johnny Bootlegger, just clapping our little hands like seals in the same zoo that Richard Petty came from, apparently. And yeah, it was pretty funny to make it on NASCAR Instagram. Second time I've gone viral this year, so.
And in slow-mo.
And in slow motion twice. Yeah, I guess you don't want to see me in real time, but. What else happened before the race?
Didn't you go eat before?
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to talk about the food, and you went and got to experience the Raceway Grill, which I did last year. It's a good spot.
It is a good spot. And yeah, we were kind of doing, like I said, we were trying to do the exact same thing you guys did. And my brother-in-law remembered the Gypsy tents being in a different spot as well. So we kind of did a lap around the entire facility. And we kind of ended up next to Raceway Grill. And, it was lunchtime, and it was like, well, fuck it. Let's fuck the track food. This place, we know it's cheaper. It's right there. Let's just see if it's busy, which by the grace of God, it was not. It was, just a few other tables in there. And we go in, get some chicken wings, and they are very good. I'll say that. I don't know if they're the best wings I've ever had, but definitely I would say top 5, especially for as cheap as they were. And then we were greeted by this woman comes out, kind of a larger black woman with just yellow dyed hair in her sneakers, and she introduces herself to the restaurant as Big Baby. I guess that's her name.
What a great name.
And she's kind of holding court, going around talking to people, and I don't know if she owns it or if she's the cook or what it is, but we're about to leave. There's like one wing left sitting in the wing tray in the basket, and she comes up, and as we're settling up, she's like, now, I know y'all aren't going to leave that wing behind. Were they not good or something? What's wrong? And then my brother-in-law was like, no, they're really good. I'm just full. And I was like, oh, that shit's walking out the door with me, ma'am. And she's like, and my brother was like, yeah, these really are probably the best chicken wings I ever had. And she's like, what was that? What'd you just say? And he's like, these are the best damn chicken wings I've ever had. And he's like, stand up and tell the place. And so he does. And he stands up and just screams, hey, y'all, these are the best damn chicken wings I've ever had. Which, of course, causes Big Baby to start dancing in the middle of the restaurant. Everyone's clapping, having a good time. And it warmed my heart. That lady fucking rips. I talked to her for a little bit after that, and she apparently is the cook. So she said she made him. So if it was her or whoever she hired to make him, kudos. I'll be back next time I come to Darlington, and there's definitely going to be a next time, if not just to go to the Raceway Grill. Yep. And then we went to the Gypsy tents after that. Not much to report there. Kind of the typical situation. I don't think we saw much of it because we were running out of time. And we wanted to meet up with you guys, who I believe you had just gotten to the track around the time that we were cashing out at Raceway Grill.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the family decides to meet up at the seats, and the scene is now set for the Goodyear 400 at Darlington.
Well, I'll get my little food report out of the way. So they didn't do a throwback menu like they have the last few years. They did bring back the PD dog, which is like a grilled pimento cheese hot dog, which I know you guys had.
Very good.
Again, love it. I had 2 on Saturday and then 1 on Sunday. Saturday was a lot more convenient because we were sitting right next to where they were selling them. But Sunday, I went and I had to walk all the way down to almost turn 1, which is where they were, to get one. But I did that before the race. They also, this was new. They had what was called a Darlington Po' Boy, which for any Cleveland Pollocks out there listening to this, they'd be ashamed that they called that a po' boy, because it was basically just two
meatball
buffalo
sandwich, right?
It was basically just like two chicken tenders and like tomato and pickles, and they called it slaw, but it was just like this mayonnaise with like some sort of shit in it. I mean, it was good, don't get me wrong, but like
It was a buffalo chicken sandwich is what it was.
yeah, more or
Sounds
less.
like a pub sub.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fine, but I mean, I don't know if I would have walked all the way just for that. But yeah, there's my NASCAR Scran report for the weekend.
Yeah, I will say the pimento dog is very good. I sent my wife was waiting for me to send a picture of it to her. It doesn't look good, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. It's not a visually appealing
It's not a looker.
hot dog, but it is.
Yeah.
It is excellent.
It's a
as far
grower,
as-
not a shower.
It's the
We'll say
inside
that.
that counts.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dog on the outside, but man, that thing is very good. I don't know how much they cost, but again, I will eat that again.
They're
for sure.
they're $6, which is not that bad. So
It's not Martinsville dog.
No.
No. Well, and I was very happy with the hot dog and the fact that I had 2 NASCAR regional hot dogs 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can't be compared. They're
No, they
two
can't.
completely different.
wasn't somebody giving you shit about eating one though?
It was Jeremy sent me a thing about you can't take a picture of the Martinsville hot dog picture with the Darlington hot dog. It's not the same. And I'm like, they're 2 totally different hot dogs.
They are. One's red, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
One is
Neon pink.
one definitely presents a lot better than the other. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, the Darlington hot dog. You look at that, you'd think, oh, whose ass did that come out of? But
Yeah.
at least there wasn't like bags of chili and hot dogs on the ground after the race. I'll give it that.
That is true.
I
But
wonder what the count of Martinsville hot dogs that get left behind in those bags is after the race.
Enough to feed a village.
Surely.
and well, I wonder how many drunks eat the leftover ones walking back to the car afterwards, because that happens.
Right here.
That has to
Oh,
happen.
I do that every year. I take a sack back to the
I'm talking about just
camper and
I'm
eat
talking about
those.
just random ones that are like left on seats and stuff. Like, oh,
Okay, no, I'm not doing that. But I do take a to-go bag back to the camper.
Yeah, man, I gotta say, like I said, first time at Darlington, I didn't get a chance to go into the racetrack until we met up with Brien and Kyle right before the race. So that was my first glimpse of it. It is a beautiful facility. It definitely retains all of the old school spirit and charm, but it's actually a very comfortable facility. There's seats for everybody. There's no metal bleachers that I know of anyway, at least not where we were sitting. It was super comfy. You can definitely lose things down the grandstands, which we'll get to in a minute, but it's a fucking awesome place. And as we've already said, Turn 4 is just a beautiful, beautiful sight. As the race started, and not to jump too far ahead, but I just kind of kept my eye on Turn 4 and I stopped watching the race for a good 20 minutes, just watching people rip the fence and try and figure it out, in that first run, and slowly move higher and higher and higher, and just like seeing the different ways people were trying to get through the corner. I could sit there and watch that all day. It was incredible.
Yeah, one thing I want to add real quick. Before the race, I think this was even before y'all made it over to the seats. They were introducing some of the throwback old timer guy. I don't want to say old timer about Carl Edwards, but you guys mentioned this a few weeks ago that it's really cool to see Carl Edwards back at the track, and
Yes.
the response that he's getting from fans, and all that. And I don't know, it warms my heart. I had to add that, but yeah, it's nice to see him keep getting that response wherever he goes.
I agree.
Yeah. He
Also,
did a great job waving the green flag. He didn't get it all wrapped up like an asshole.
tangled.
He's got them muscles. He knows
good.
what he's doing.
Yeah. It's also really cool to see those 2 Wood Brothers cars take a few laps around the track. And again, Darlington, if you watch video, obviously they've flipped the grandstands from one side to the other, and the covered grandstand where the front stretch used to be is no longer there. But seeing those machines rip around that place was pretty special. You could imagine what it looked like back in those days. And to me, that's kind of the spirit of the whole weekend right there, is reminding people of where it came from. And I think there was nothing that personified that more than watching Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer drive a couple of those badass Fords around the racetrack.
When you look at that track and you just, for me, I picture all these videos in my head while I look at certain parts of the track. And,
right.
I realized that when I went there last year, I went down there and I touched the track last year. And that was like my thing last year when I went to go visit all these tracks for the first time. And, it's definitely up there, that and like Martinsville with, you walk in there and you feel it, and it's a feeling. Yeah. I love it. I think it's a great place.
Same.
Yeah. So that brings us to the race itself. And, boy, it started off hot. Lap 3, Kyle Larson shits the bed all by himself.
Yeah, well, at least the half of where I couldn't see him. There is a blind spot, and that's where all the good stuff happened for you guys, and the bad stuff happened for me.
It was definitely, as someone who's seen Kyle Larson win in I think just about every type of car he could.
It's probably a bit of relief for you.
Well, I mean, it was the second year. It wasn't a relief. I mean, it's the second year in a row he did this, but I would say it was very funny watching you in real time witness this and process it. Like that, I got a kick out of that quite a bit.
Yeah, disappointed was how I felt.
Maybe disappointed that I wasn't there to witness it.
Yeah. I didn't get too mad, I don't think.
It was the shotgun before the race, sliding the beers into the Larson koozies to stand up, watch the race, and then immediately just
within 90 seconds. Yeah.
You did buy a new throwback Larson koozie, didn't you?
Yeah, the hat, the koozie. I was darfing out, buddy.
And yeah, we were sitting around a lot of Larson fans, and yeah, Rob, you were just kind of almost like in awe, just like, what? You got to be kidding me! Like,
cool.
That's kind of how I pictured you throughout all this.
Bought him a hat, bought him a koozie, and that's what you got. You got the Terry Labonte tradition.
Got to stop doing it. Got to stop buying merch. I'm glad there weren't. I was gonna buy me a Ryan Preece hat, but they're all pretty ugly, and I'm glad I didn't. I guess his day didn't turn out so well either. But the race got
a country crock rock the table.
They didn't even have that. They just had this blue Kroger hat. It just was fucking ugly. I don't know. I don't like Kroger that much.
I want a butter shirt.
Yeah, if it was a butter shirt, I might wear it, but no.
There was not really much throwback merch at all, to be honest. I mean, I think Larson had a few things. I mean, there are a few pieces, but really not much at all.
I will say that the Dale Jr. Budweiser line has its own hauler now.
Yeah.
It has its own specific trailer that's separate from the Dale Jr. trailer or the Junior Motorsports trailer. So
yeah. Which, isn't a surprise. He's still one of the top merch sellers. But
yeah.
But no, the race itself, so I mean, I'll say this. As someone who was at New Hampshire in 2000 and watched Jeff Burton lead all 300 laps, I kind of thought that's what we were going to be seeing again, because I think Byron he led all the first two stages. And, it was one of those deals where, everybody talks about it. It's a narrow track, and dirty air there makes it difficult to pass.
Yeah.
At least up front. I mean, we watched, Preece did his best to keep up, and Byron was just gone, and then eventually Bell and maybe Bubba and a couple other people would get up to second and maybe get a little bit close. And with the first two stages, they were just too short for Byron to really get near any lap cars, which eventually when he did, things tightened up a little bit.
Apart,
but
yeah. I mean, the action towards like 10th, 15 on back was pretty intense for the first stage.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the thing. I mean, the rest of the field, like, there's plenty of stuff going on, and this is where, I know, like, the Gluck poll every week for was it a good or bad race? Like, this race, voted, I think only 46 or 47%, something like that, voted yes.
Stupid.
And, while it wasn't the best race I've ever seen at Darlington. It also wasn't awful, but I kind of feel bad for the people at home because this is a track that when you're there, there's always shit going on. There's always stuff to watch. But on TV, I guess I can understand it being pretty boring because you don't really get to see all the rest of what's going on.
And just again, talking about turn 4 and watching guys kind of get into 3 and 4 and see how close they can get to the fence and trying to figure out a different line to gain ground. Like Brian Priest, for example, he just could not get on the fence like Byron was able to. And that's where Byron was making all of his gains, was just he got up early. He wasn't inches off the wall, but he was higher than anybody else was, and he could just consistently and cleanly just rip the lip of the racetrack. And I think he would kind of diamond 1 and 2. I can't remember exactly how that worked, but he had it figured out, and everyone else was just trying to play catch up. And just watching everyone try and figure that place out, because it is such a difficult racetrack to really get around and find speed. Even if they just ran, in the same order they did from start to finish, I still think it would have been a compelling thing to watch, at least at the racetrack anyway. I know TV, you kind of lose that, but yeah, I really enjoyed most of that race anyway.
One of the notes that I have that pertains to that is during stage 2 on the broadcast, they brought Richard Petty and Kyle Petty into the booth with Mike and Clint and Kevin. And as they were leaving, Richard goes, "The good racing is going on in about 15th, but they don't show that on TV."
Oh, shit.
And Mike Joy goes, "Well, folks, if you want to see that, you'll have to buy a ticket."
It's true. It's true.
Richard
No,
was 100% correct.
Yeah, no, I will vouch for that. Listen, if you actually go to the race, you are guaranteed to have a good time. But yeah, I can understand it being maybe not the most exciting race on TV. Yeah. Before we get to when it actually got exciting, though, so let's talk about Kyle's little problem. I forget exactly when this happened, Kyle. So refresh our memories.
Well,
It's the second caution, right? Because there was did Brad's lug nut deal happen before this, or was it after?
Well, I feel like I started getting updates from y'all about this right at the end of stage 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was at the end of stage 1.
It was Hocevar. It was Hocevar and Byron.
Yeah, it was. Hocevar was trying to lap, or Byron was trying to lap Hocevar, and they were kind of in that. I can't remember who the other car was next to Hocevar. Maybe it was Haley. I don't know, but there was a three wide thing going on there for a minute, and whatever. And I don't want to go into my dislike for the number 24 all that much, but I personally was watching this for laps, because Hocevar doesn't like to get lapped.
No,
he doesn't like anything bad happening to him whatsoever. But I'm watching this all unfold, and I'm getting more excited, and I can see that there's this wreck that's going to be happening at some point.
Yeah, it was boiling. It was boiling.
Yeah. And I see smoke over there at the start-finish line, and I know Byron's right there in front of Hocevar, and I see Rob pointing, and everyone's pointing, and I'm thinking, hell yeah, 24 is taken out. So I stand up, all stoked and excited and shit, and I see my little red phone bag thing fly out of my pocket, and it was like a slow motion kind of thing where I see this, I'm getting excited about the wreck, but I'm watching the phone, and it hit my seat, and my seat shot back up in the little upright position thing, and lo and behold, right underneath where I'm sitting, there's a 1-inch, not even a 1-inch slit,
just wide enough
opening.
iPhone width.
And it was like watching that scene in a movie where a woman loses her wedding ring in a storm drain kind of thing. And I watched this thing and I just went, shit. Well, that's in the concrete or something. I totally expected it to be in the concrete
Also too, you should mention that this crack wasn't uniform throughout the entire row.
Yeah.
For some reason, it opened up right near us.
It was directly under him, because I checked under my seat and I didn't have the crack. There's a perfect little seam down there, and you look at Kyle sitting right next to me. It opens up, and it's just enough. I mean, the stars aligned for this to happen.
And I also want to point out that was seat 13. I was sitting in seat 13. So if you go to Darlington, don't sit in seat 13.
Yeah, row 22, seat 13. Yeah.
Well, no, the funny part too is, so we were sitting like directly over the tunnel that takes you underneath the grandstands where the bathrooms and everything are.
Yeah.
So like when we went down, like Kyle went down to look for it, and then we went back out later. It's like when you looked up from the tunnel, you could see the phone like 50 feet away from us, like just sitting there, because there's like a piece of sheet metal underneath the seats so shit doesn't drop down on people underneath.
Yeah.
So
for a perfect example.
Yeah.
So yeah, finish up that debacle and how that went before we get to the rest of the race.
Well, I went down there right before the end of the stage to go look for where my phone was. I'm looking at the concrete, and I had no idea where the hell it was. And I kind of looked and peeked, and that's when I realized that section of corrugated is underneath all the stands.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes into this catch net, but the sections outside of the tunnel, they have like a catch net all the way at the bottom.
Right.
But the tunnel itself, it has this. It slides down the corrugated, but then it goes into like this 6-inch like gutter kind of thing.
It's a gutter, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, after the race and all that was over, we kind of sat and watched Denny Hamlin over in Victory Lane for a bit. But then I was like, all right, Rob, I need your help.
Yep.
I need your help. We're gonna figure this out.
We start hashing a plan right there. Yeah.
And the track guy that was working there. Now, mind you, I should kind of backtrack a little bit. I talked to him ahead of time and told him about my phone and all that. And he's like, all right, if I, am able to get it and we can get it, we can come up to you and we'll bring it to you, give us your seat in your section. So he comes up like 15 minutes later, or like at the end of stage 2 or something like that. And we all get excited. We're like, hell yeah, this guy got the phone. That's awesome. He's like, yeah, well, bad news, we're probably not going to get it for you until like tomorrow. So I need to get your mailing address so we can send it to you. And I looked at him and I went, that's not going to happen. I gave him this sad little story. I was like, I live in Mooresville, North Carolina. I traveled here by myself. I don't know where I'm going. I need to go home tonight. And he was like, understood. And I'm like, yeah, okay, glad that you understand. But after the race, he could tell that I was like, I'm not giving this up today. And he was kind of like, whatever you got to do to get it, I don't know.
Yep.
Or like, do what you got to do. So as we start pulling chairs up to, this whole plan.
Yeah, it starts with a folding chair.
Yeah.
Finding chairs.
I'm going to get up on this folding chair and just reach over and grab it. Well, one, folding chair is not tall enough. And then track, like, emergency services comes by, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, these two, like, one big-ass beefy guy and one little scrawny guy are kind of looking at me just like, what do you think you're doing? I'm like, I need to get my phone, or, like, I need a ladder. And they're like, well, we don't want to like make reports, and we don't want to have another issue on our hands, this, that, and the other. And I was like,
these are medical guys, and they're just like, I don't. And there were sirens going off in the background. I was like, yeah, I'm sure you guys can hear it, but we've had quite the day here, and the last thing we want one of you to do is get hurt. And it was at this moment I realized that we were standing on a folding chair trying to lift ourselves up over this gutter, and on either side of us was a 40-foot drop down to the concourse. So it's like, okay, that's fair. Meanwhile, there was just a random fan kind of watching this go down, and he's kind of looking at us with this like knowing, like the nod kind of, and he's tying up a trash bag in one of these big trash barrels, tying up this trash bag, just like, y'all wait. And he pulls this trash bag out of there and just kind of flips the barrel over and like brings it over and slides it to us. He's like, try that, boys. And the other thing was your phone, like, it was missing. It was gone, like, because you could see it earlier in the race. And we assumed maybe the vibrations had knocked it down. So I got up on a chair with my phone. First, I tried to reach over and see if I can grab it because I have long, spindly freak fingers. And I thought maybe if I can get my little hand over here, I can grab this thing, which I couldn't. And then I was like, you know what? I have my phone. I haven't dropped that yet. even though I could have dropped it 40 feet and been in the same boat. But I can take a picture of what's in there, and I can see if I can find it. And I stuck my phone up there. I grabbed one shot, and sure enough, the phone was directly underneath where I had taken the shot. So we had confirmation the phone is there. But then this is when track services came up and started trying to derail the plan. And it was at this point where I decided, well, we're going to be here a while. Because didn't you go off and look for a ladder, behind, some of the concessions and shit?
Oh, I went to concession stands. I went to the tents. I went over back to EMS asking everybody for a ladder. I even asked the damn sheriff over there if they had a ladder. And he was like, no, boy, I don't. And I was like, okay.
And my brother-in-law was there, too. And it seemed like we were going to be there for a while. And I'd already told Kyle that if he needed someone to ride with him, I could. We're all kind of going back to the same place. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go buy that Oliver print Justin Allgaier t-shirt. I'll be right back. So I took off and left my brother-in-law with you. And this is the part I actually don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't there very much longer after you left, because another guy, the section over that worked for Darlington, came over and talked to me. He was like, yeah, so we've been looking for some ladders and all that, but bad news, we're definitely not going to be able to get you this phone until either tomorrow or later on in the week. And I looked at him as well, and I was like, no.
Incorrect.
And I kind of bribed him. I was like, listen, man, you let me do whatever I need to do. I will give you the best fan survey that you've ever had and seen in your entire life. I don't know why I thought I was going to bribe him with a fan survey and not cash. But
you're really selling that one.
Yeah. I'll say that the Section 122 guys were great. They were great helps, because that matters. But no, it was great because everybody kind of looked away at one point, and that's when your brother-in-law and I were able to get the trash can back over, and he's bracing one leg of mine so I don't fall to the left, and then the track guy that was kind of like, whatever, I just want to get this guy out of my face, or have him gone, is holding my other leg, and I reach up there and grab the phone, and it was, my phone drank more than I do.
Yeah, it looked pretty wet.
That thing was soaked in beer, dude. It was gross. The amount of muck that was on it. But the best part was your brother-in-law going, I'm a dad, I have wipes. And he whips out these baby wipes, and he's like, take as many as you need. Just make sure that it works. And I was like, dude, you're a sweetheart, man. Because I told him, I was like, I'm gonna go wash this off in the bathroom. He's like, no, dude, don't do that.
In the trough. Which
I'm some baby wipes. Bless you, man. So that was great. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny with it being throwback weekend that the Winston phone case was the Winston phone and the muck was the image of the weekend for me.
It was very appropriate. And we'll post that on the Instagram so you guys can see just the cesspool that it was sitting in. I would argue that the actual troughs at Darlington in the men's room were probably cleaner than that.
What a miracle, though. It charged, it worked, everything is fine. And, yeah, the Darlington guys didn't have to see me anymore after that, so everybody won in the situation.
Yeah. God, I can't believe you got that shit back. Wasn't cracked, not damaged, just fine, just the phone.
Yeah, everything A-okay. And I swear, dude, I was like, what's the word? I was manifesting it the whole time. I'm sitting there watching this race going, we're going to get it back. You're going to get it back. You're going to get it back. And I had to I was like, hey, Rob, message Ashley to message Carrie, my girlfriend, be like, he's alive. He's okay. He's good.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny that when I got back, she told me that she was getting the real-time pictures of the phone. So she had the picture of the phone all the way up in the stands and then saw the picture of it in the muck, and I was like, hell yeah. So thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that.
Try to keep her updated.
I do have to apologize. When the Brad Keselowski debris caution came out, I made a joke that may have been a little too soon. because everyone was trying to figure out what it was, and I look at Kyle and I was like, hey, it looks like your phone slid out there on the racetrack. Maybe you'll get it back. And it didn't get any laughs, and I was like, well, that was mean. I'm very sorry. So I just want to put the apology out there now.
I think that was the point in time where I was like trying to accept the fact that I was going to have to sit through another Byron win this season.
Well, now that the phone debacle's over with, let's get back to the actual racing. So, yes, things weren't really, again, all that exciting until that Keselowski caution happened. So, first off, we were watching it, and we see Keselowski spin. He's clearly got a flat tire or whatever. And we're like, why isn't the caution going on? Like, what? They're just waiting. And for NASCAR, that's odd. And
because it was almost a full-on wreck. He was completely sideways, happened right in front of us.
Yeah. What happened? So I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together. This was in the midst of the green flag cycle, pit stop cycle, and NASCAR wanted to delay that because they knew if they threw the caution, it would fuck everything up as far as the field and whatever. And eventually they kind of had to, because I guess even though it really wasn't in the way, they finally spotted that the lug nut was on the track, and you know, I guess technically it could have been an issue if somebody hit it, so they threw the caution. And this is also, I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together then, but this is when Byron lost the lead, because, you know, in theory he would have been back in the lead had everything cycled back out. But that's why I guess when they came back I was like, oh, Reddick's leading, that's weird. And I just didn't process it till then. But anyways, so the green flags, the pit stops and everything happens, and Reddick's got a big lead. But I guess Blaney, he pitted like 7 laps later than everybody else. And granted, he and Reddick on the longer runs had the faster cars of the day anyways. Oh, yeah. But that last 20 or so laps, like, you could just see how much faster Blaney was. And
it was unbelievable.
Picking up like 5-6 car lengths like every straightaway.
Well, I think it was about 12 laps to go. And also shout out to Darlington for having usable track Wi-Fi for just the fans.
Yeah.
Awesome move. So I was able to actually have timing and scoring open, and I was watching the delta just go down by about 0.5 a second every lap, and I was like, there's 12 laps left. He's gonna catch him. This is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it was very clear he was gonna get him, and then as soon as he does, like, he finally gets him in turn 1.
I don't know what happened.
2. Well, actually, hold on. We didn't even get before we even get to that part. Speaking of that, though, like, I don't know how many laps were left, but all of a sudden it's like we saw a fucking ghost. Kyle Larson's back out on the track. Like, what the fuck is this?
Dude, I got a huge cheer out of our section.
160 laps down.
Yeah.
And so what was pointed out to me after the fact, I mean, I knew he only had 1 spot he could gain, but actually, I guess from 36 on back, like, there's no points to be gained anyway. So even passing, who finished last?
Yaley.
Even passing Yaley, he gained no points. But what was pointed out on the teardown was this was a good opportunity for the team to both, test the DVP clock, test how they could get the car back together, and also potentially work on some setups and stuff. Because when the car got back on track, it looked pretty much brand new. And second,
it's like a different car.
They must have had 3 or 4 pit stops in the 40-50 laps that were on the track, because Larson was pitted right in front of us, so he kept coming in. I was kind of wondering what the hell was going on. But
my thought was that they were trying to go for the fastest lap.
Yeah, that was also, it probably could have been the case, because they were faster than most everybody else.
And hell, give the guys in race pit stop practice, I guess.
Yeah, it was.
He had a whole new pit crew this weekend. Him and Justin Haley have permanently switched over the wall pit crews.
That's right.
Yeah, so getting reps in, okay, I guess I can understand why you do that.
Yeah. But boy, it was a heated battle for last place between the 2 greatest dirt drivers of the past 20 years back there.
With the 2 best throwbacks of the day.
Yeah. Bill Elliott versus Terry Labonte for fucking 89th place.
Yep. So anyways, Blaney finally catches Reddick in turn 1 and 2, and he just passes him coming out of 2. Reddick gets in the wall a little bit, and Larson had just passed Bubba, who Bubba was a lap down anyways, but again, he was still a lap down, not 160. He checks up probably too much, and again, to be fair, I'll give him, it was pointed out too, he was doing his best to stay at everybody's way. So this was just like,
did a great job till then.
Yeah, this was just one of those moments that was just like, how does that fucking happen? So he checks up, and Bubba's right behind him, and he has just no time to stop or anything.
Yeah.
So he spins out Larson, and that brings out a green-white checkered. And I guess I wasn't really expecting this, but pretty much everybody pitted, and this is what gave Denny Hamlin the lead. I mean, Denny was he was in the
Blaney
top,
had a bad stop, a very bad stop.
Yeah.
Denny was in the top 10, 15 all day, so he wasn't there. Like all the Gibbs cars actually, none of them were really that hot. I was kind of surprised. I figured Briscoe would have done way better.
Yeah, Briscoe had a shitty day. I don't know what happened with them, but
Yeah, I don't
Christopher
know
Bell
either.
started off slow. All of them were slow, but by stage 3, all the Gibbs cars except for Briscoe were running pretty close to the top 10 or in the top 10.
Yeah.
Even Ty
And
Gibbs.
And I do think part of that too was because of the pit stop cycle, and certain people got up front and other people got shuffled to the back.
Yeah,
so,
they definitely got a little gimme there.
Yeah. Denny's pit crew hit the stop of the day and got him out front, and that was it. I mean, there wasn't anything that happened in the last 2 laps. I mean, Denny just got the lead, and there was a nice 3-car battle for second, but it was Denny was gone. So got to see Denny win his second race in a row. Not my first time seeing Denny win at Darlington, and not mad about that either. Like I like Denny, so good for him, and that was a race. So
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I'll be back at Darlington as long as it can go. With my parents right there, it makes it easy to make the trip down. So I loved it. And any final thoughts from you guys, and also Ashley too. I mean, if there's any broadcast, watching from home notes that you haven't mentioned.
I only have a couple things. The only things, a couple things were after Richard and Kyle left the booth, they had Greg Biffle come in for stage 3 for a minute. And that man looks like he is going through one hell of a midlife crisis. He has bleach blonde hair now. He had on a denim shirt that was sleeveless.
Yeah,
and,
that's a bet with Cletus
these
McFarlane. So.
long shorts and tall black socks.
He did try to do a burnout in the pace car, but didn't really pull it off. I'll say that.
There was also some radio interaction where apparently Byron came on the radio while he was leading and said, "I'm back now. I was peeing."
Yes, I caught that on Twitter. Yes, that was very funny.
Oh, so that was a real thing. I thought that was like somebody joking typing that. That's great.
I mean, I'm sure. I don't know what point in the race it happened, but I mean, I'm sure we can go find the clip on Max and
Yeah.
But
I think it was in stage 3 sometime.
yeah.
Yeah, a couple of shout outs rather. Of course, a friend of the program, Ken Bob, he came up and sat with us for the whole race. Good to see him. Anytime I go to Carolina, it's usually a family deal, and I don't get to see a lot of the homies. So it was nice to have a chance to shoot the shit with him and watch us a cup race out in the South Carolina sun. And also shout out to Buddy, a friend of the program. He was there as well. I caught him on the way out. I love that my Christian name to him is Uncle Rob. I really appreciate that. And we stood around and chopped it up after the race. And I believe he's supposed to come on the show at some point, right?
He's supposed to come on next week if his work schedule allows after we go to Cordele this weekend.
Nice. Cool. But yeah, good to see him. Always good to see all the random homies at a NASCAR track, and there were certainly a lot of them out there. And also shout out to Cameron Nouveau, Altered Stock on Instagram. Amazing photographer. We've talked about him a bunch. He also popped in for a little bit and said what's up. And I don't know if you've seen the photos he took while he was at Darlington that he's posted on Instagram, but they are, as usual, absolutely breathtaking. He's the best in the game, folks, so make sure you give Altered Stock a follow on Instagram. And, again, just shout out to everyone who came and said hi. It was a really special day hanging out with everybody. And anytime we get the family together, it's awesome. Truelove, really wish you were there. It's the only thing that would have made it better. And, of course, all the the cousins and outside family that we don't get to see all the time and talk to all the time. It was great to see them as well. So, great weekend.
Glad I got to live vicariously through the group chat on all of the updates that were going on.
Also got my first cookout tray this weekend, and that was absolutely worth the $8 I paid for it. I get it now. I understand. So
Best bang for your buck.
Seriously.
Yep. Now Denny is the winningest driver in the number 11 car ever over Kale, and he's also now the winningest driver in JGR history over Kyle Busch. So.
Damn, good for him. Yeah, I'm still not a fan, but yeah, you can't deny he's got a lot of gas left in the tank here.
Yeah, for sure.
And you give him momentum, he runs with it. So that's for damn sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We'll see what happens this weekend. I'm praying for another tire shit show. That'll be fun.
Did you guys get any shit out on Monday after the race? I know Kyle was back to normal life, and Brien, you had to fly home.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
I did a little Darfin on Monday. Went to a few race shops. We stopped into... Actually went to the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame in Mooresville and checked out the gift shop there. Talked to Sue Wallace, who was always hanging out there. Sue is the best, and we talked about smart modified racing for a little while. And she told me this story about this kid that was in there with his family, and he's just getting into NASCAR and all. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't really have a favorite driver, but I don't like the 22." And then I forget what his name is, but one of the higher ups at Penske walks in right as he's saying that. And Sue's like, "Well, do you know who that is?" And the kid apparently turned beet red. And I think he walked out of there a Penske fan. He bought him, the Penske guy bought him some merch and, talked to him for a little while. Again, that's a perfect snapshot of why the whole racing thing is so special, especially with the fans and just how generally kind most people are. But yeah, did that. Went to Junior Motorsports, checked it out. One of Dale's old cars, actually the one that Cendric's car was based off of, was parked in there. That was pretty cool. Bought me a Bowman Gray hat for extra DARF points. Stopped into Tricon for a second, which I don't know if you're supposed to do that. There is no fan area or anything. It's just a race shop, so that was kind of fun. And then stopped into Casey Kame Racing for a little bit, which, of course, a World of Outlaws team. We've talked about them in the Septic Tank a lot. That's a neat little shop to stop into as well. They got all of Casey's trophies in there. There's a couple cup cars and, of course, all the sprint cars for Brad Sweet and Casey and all that. And if you like Kyle Larson and Casey Kame merch and Brad Sweet merch, that is the place to go buy it. I can tell you that. But yeah, nice little day at Darfin around. We went to Spire as well, which is always kind of a cool shop, especially now that Corey LaJoy doesn't drive for him. So yeah. They've scooted all that stuff out to the dumpster in the back.
I don't have his car parked next to the bathroom anymore.
No. In fact, they built a big wall where that used to be, so they've sealed that off to forget, I guess.
Moving on to other news and notes. So a little bit of sad news. Shigeaki Hattori, who was the owner of Hattori Racing, which was the 2018 Truck Series Championship team with Brett Moffitt, was killed in a car accident over the weekend. He was 61 years old, so definitely taken before his time. They were still a little bit active in NASCAR. I think they did one or two starts last year with somebody in the Truck Series.
Yeah, this Shiggy's team, there was a big conversation about the affordability of being able to fuel the race team and just how much money it costs to stay competitive around the time. Because he won that championship and they sort of disappeared not long after that. Of course, Austin Hill drove for him for a little while and did pretty well, but then they shuttered the full-time team after that. I mean, he had his own racing career too. He had a bunch of kart starts and IRL starts before moving to the Truck Series and running a few races there and then starting his own team. I was always a big fan of Shiggy. I got a HRE t-shirt that I grew out of over the course of the pandemic, which I think a lot of people did that. So if anybody wants a size medium long sleeve t-shirt, hit me up. I'll give it to you. But yeah, by all accounts, apparently one of the sweetest guys you can meet in the garage, and it's going to be a shame that it was a shame that he already wasn't around as much because he wasn't running full time, but it's certainly a shame that we're not going to get a chance to see him compete again. And it's a damn shame. So rest in peace.
Yep. Back to last week's Dale Jr. Lamar Jackson trademark issue. That really ended up being a lot of nothing because it was kind of, at least when the news first broke, everybody thought Lamar was going after the 8, like the Budweiser 8.
Yeah.
Which, Senior ran that 8 back in the day. So, Lamar obviously had no ties to that. But what was actually being contested was the old 8 that the team used to use, and they had trademarked it as a backup while they were still working on getting, the good 8 back. And then once they got it, it was like, we don't need this anymore. And Junior just put out a statement, and, he talked about it. He's like, I'm not going to waste thousands of dollars fighting this. Like, I don't care. We're not going to use that anymore. So he just kind of was like, yep, we're abandoning that trademark, and there's no issue. So
game over.
That was kind of a whole lot of nothing.
But the memes were funny.
Yeah, the memes were so good.
This brightened my day, though, I'll say. So we pointed this out.
Alone, buddy.
Yeah, we pointed this out a couple weeks ago that Carson got himself one of those little, replica racetracks, and he was taking some photos from it, but he finally decided to do his own stop motion video of him qualifying the car at Martinsville. And that warmed my little heart. He's in the stop motion business. I hope he does more of those. So I'll be very excited to see him.
Yeah, officially confirming that Carson Hocevar is in league with the devil. That's what this is.
I thought you were going to say he's officially autistic, but also
well, that's implied.
You meant artistic.
Yeah, something like that.
No. I meant what I said. All right, I didn't watch this shit, so this next one's you.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Supercross at Foxboro this weekend before the Darlington thing came up. It would have been another weekend of sitting out in the cold and rain here, and boy, the track was it was fucked up. I don't know if you guys, Brian, I know you didn't watch any of this. Did either of you, Truelove or Kyle, watch any of
I
this?
saw a clip
you
of it.
sent.
Yeah.
God, it was a mud pit. Mud races don't happen all that much in Supercross. But it certainly happened to Foxboro, and Aaron Plessinger picking up the big win there. The Cowboy won by about 2 minutes, and then, like as you do in a mud race, he dove into the mud and covered his front half. There was a lot of crazy wrecks and people just completely covered in mud. Malcolm Stewart got his leg caught in the handlebars trying to get his bike out of a mud pit. It was nasty work. They even shortened all the features. I think it was RJ Hampshire in the 250 feature just completely forgot or didn't care that the track was wet and just dumped his bike in the first turn and collected about 3 or 4 guys, and they all stood up just completely brown like they were mud wrestling or something. But yeah, not what you typically see out of a Supercross show, but certainly entertaining, and that's some hard riding right there. And of course, Plessinger, he's got a lot of mud experience and traditional Supercross experience, so he was right at home and just whooped everyone's ass. And I wish I would have seen it, but I'm also glad I wasn't soaking wet. So that's the Supercross Minute here, presented by Zen Menthol 6s, which I have one in right now. So,
listen, going back to Zen, real quick, while I have one in my hand also, I am just done with Zins. Like, they are definitely not, even though they're the name brand tobacco pouch or nicotine pouch, I'm done with them. These last 3 I got, that's it. They just don't hold the candle to Zones. They just don't.
Yeah. By the way, if you want some really fucking ugly Kyle Busch merch, there are some Zone T-shirts that are bright green. You can go pick up.
Yeah, this year the green one I didn't like. They had one last year that was blue and looked a lot better for sure.
Fucking nasty.
Although I don't think I mentioned this either. Grizzly nicotine pouches are going to be on the Almendinger car, so I might have to try those.
Yeah, they sponsored Ty Dillon at the Clash, I believe. I think we're starting to get those up here, but I'm always scared to buy them because they're always right next to the fucking chewing tobacco or the snuff, which I don't do. And I don't want to start doing it because I know I would if they handed me that, because I'm not going to let it go to waste. And I know how my brain works, so I'll be riding around with an empty Dr. Pepper bottle within a couple weeks if that happens. So
They had the Grizzly tent over at Daytona this year, and I was kicking myself after I left because I wish I got some to try.
yeah.
But I'll be back.
Let's see. So
I did want to mention this. I know we talked about it last week, but the new museum at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is open. Friend of the program, Kyle Armstrong, did go, sent some photos over. It looks absolutely incredible, and in fact, they've redone the basement, which used to be closed off. I don't know if all the cars they kept down there originally are still there, but it's a much expanded museum now with a bunch of NASCAR stuff as well. They got Jeff Gordon's inaugural winning car down there, the car Dale won in, and a bunch of other amazing shit. So yeah, high marks coming from somebody who knows what they're looking at, and Kyle Armstrong. So if you're ever in Indy, you better go check that out.
I don't think any of us watched this, but one of our favorites, Mikey Waltrip, was in the Freedom 500.
Oh, no shit.
Who I meant. That's not who I meant when I made that note.
Well, who did you mean?
Corey LaJoy.
Oh, Corey ran it too?
Oh, well, I didn't know that. I didn't even see that. I didn't even fucking see that. Who won?
Travis Pastrana,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and he proceeded to spray paint his new Corvette.
Oh, yeah, so I did see that.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
Well, I know it. Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was funny that, like, Corey passed up a full-time truck ride to go.
Go race Crown Vics.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Travis Pastrana,
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though it's in the septic tank, Travis. We talked about a few weeks ago that he got in a 410 car at Las Vegas. Well, a couple days ago, he put out a 20-minute video on his YouTube channel documenting that experience, and it was a great watch. Like, I watched it. First off, I'll say this: Travis Pastrana is finally like a man. Like, I've been watching him since like the late 90s when he was doing freestyle motocross, and he is like a full-fledged, like, he sounds like a man, he looks like a man. Like, he was always a kid for the longest time, but now he's like a real adult man.
Yeah.
But this video of him in the 410 car, he is like, you can see he's afraid. He can't get in the car. They have to like make all these adjustments to the car so he can get in it. And at one point it seemed like he was actually just going to not do it. But then he finally did it, and a buddy of his who's I guess raced a little bit and does sim racing, he got in it, and they were both like 2 seconds off, like Larson and Bell, I guess. But so it's a great watch. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
Just look it up on YouTube.
And if you don't understand how dangerous sprint cars are, seeing somebody like Travis Pastrana, who seems to be a pretty fearless individual, watching him kind of freeze up a little bit, or not a little bit, a lot, and seriously questioning whether or not he actually wants to do this once he's trying to get in the car is it's pretty incredible, and it really shines a light on just how wild that is, especially considering the track conditions at Vegas from that weekend, and knowing that, within 24 hours Aaron Reitzel was going to get a rock through his visor is pretty it's pretty telling just how badass those cars are.
Yeah. A couple days ago, the NASCAR website was hacked and held for a $4 million ransom. Nothing really came of this. There was a few things that leaked, and they were all just the most mundane, boring things. No, like, the one thing I thought was kind of funny was, like, somebody leaked, there was an incident report of, like, somebody getting hit by a golf cart at a track.
Handwritten.
Yeah.
Martinsville. Yeah. Lots of terrible grammar.
I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but I don't think it really went anywhere.
Yeah,
but
that person really should have been our DAR for the week, whoever wrote that note. But
There were a lot of great comments of people saying finally the Sadler crash tapes will be released. But
good luck with
I
that.
haven't seen those.
Back to last week's news about the Legacy Motorsports and Rick Ware lawsuit. It came out on Junior's podcast that Legacy paid $45 million for that charter, which is a new record.
That's insane.
And even on that podcast too, like, him and Jordan were talking about hundreds and millions and even billions of dollars that some of these things could be worth someday, which is just insane to me. Like,
Yeah, because again, you got to remember that charter is one of the bottom barrel ones, and it does. The points come with the charter, and like your seating, and I don't know, however that works, but it's definitely the cheapest one you can buy, and $45 million for the cheapest one is certainly
which is interesting to think about, because I mean, BJ sold his for 40, and then Haas apparently sold his for like 20 each, and you would have gotten much better, positioning, even with their where they were at, last year. So.
But as they were saying on Dale Jr.'s podcast, it's kind of the last one on the table.
Yeah, at the moment.
And it turns out it is the 51's charter. It's not the one that they had leased out to Ryan Preece and Roush Fenway. So that there's not going to be any problems with that this season or next. There was some language in there that kind of indicated that maybe that would be the case, and maybe the charter actually being valid is in jeopardy until this is all cleared up with Legacy. But I don't know. Nothing of the sort has come out just yet, and it does seem like Preece's is safe. Which is good news for me.
Yeah,
and Ryan Preece, for sure.
All right, and what's this formal apology we got
Oh,
here?
yeah, so we got duped last week. Of course, it was April Fool's weekend. I'd mentioned that Tickford Racing had lost a shipping container on their way to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And, April Fool's, April 1st, you always kind of got to watch out and take everything with a grain of salt. But the problem is Australia's on the other side of the date line. So we saw that on March 31st.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize it was April Fool's Day until the calendar turned here in the U.S. So, and when you look at it, it really is pretty obvious. It's the shittiest Photoshop job imaginable. So that didn't happen. As a legitimate and trusted news source, we have to take responsibility for when we're wrong, which is rare. But in this case, we the royal I was completely wrong in bringing that to the group. So my bad. I got duped by a bunch of fucking Aussies. So.
Whoops.
And do we have fan questions or no?
We do have a few.
There were a few, yeah.
Yeah, we asked the folks to ask us about whatever, our experiences at Darlington, etc. One of our favorite accounts, NASCAR Pulp, chimed in asking how Darlington was and how does the vibe compare with other tracks. We kind of covered that a little bit, I guess, and just the way, how special it feels. As far as like the fans are concerned and just being there, I don't know if it's any more enthusiastic or not than other tracks, but I certainly had a lot more fun with the people sitting around us and just kind of in line. And, I always use when you're at the trough and chirping at each other while you're taking a piss as a good indicator of what the vibe is.
Is that what you're doing?
It's part of it. You're kind of forced to. And I'll say that it felt a lot more like a dirt track or something like that. So and that's always a good, it gets 5 points for me. But you got to go see Darlington. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it really is.
There was a young family in front of us that me and my stepdad talked to for a minute, and the wife was asking, "Oh, you guys can bring your own beer in here?" Like, it was their first time going to any race, so they didn't know. And she's like, "Man, I could have saved myself a lot of money." I'm like, "Yes, you could have. Welcome to NASCAR."
Please come back.
Yep.
We also got, this isn't really a question, but it came from a guy, Jamie H. Reynolds, who it seems like he worked with a bunch of Winston Cup teams back in the day. Of course, when we asked the question on Instagram, I posted a picture of the McBee Water Tower, blaming the low speed limits in that town and how you will get pulled over if you go even a tenth of a mile and over what the speed limit is. He chimed in saying, "Yeah, I got a 75 and a 30 there after missing the race with Andy Houston in 01. Wow, that must have been a fucking crazy ticket."
Jeez.
There's cops all over there.
Yeah, really are. Yeah, and he worked with Steve Grissom and a few other people back in the Cup Garage back in the day. So definitely cool to get a Winston Cup dude chiming in here and saying what's up. And then
cool.
Paul S. Kent, who I'm assuming is related to our other buddy Steve Kent, who is a listener of the show. He says, "Are you going to Charlotte? The Kents from the UK will be there. Unfortunately, I will not be going to the 600 this year. I was hoping to, but I have some band stuff happening. Truelove, are you going?"
I'm at like a 75% chance right now that I'm going.
Okay.
It's definitely the plan. I just got to figure out the logistics.
There's a very slim chance I could go, but I kind of doubt it. We'll see. But yeah, I got a few other race trips planned, and I'm still trying to get the go-kart stuff together. So probably not, but we'll see.
I'd love to go. Kyle, I assume you're going to be there.
Kyle lives
Kyle
there,
will be there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of those bear shit in the woods kind of moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make up for last year because last year was my first time at the 600, and I need a better showing than last year.
Yeah,
that
that's kinda how I
250.
feel too. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, most of us will not be there, but it's not for lack of want or for trying. But Kyle will be there, and he's nicer than the three of us, so he'll have a good time with you.
I'll decide when it gets a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we got Dart for the week now, and I don't know who found this, so you're gonna have to provide some context because.
All right. So this one's from me. I forget where it came from, but it was a discussion on Facebook. I think it was a Fox Sports post or something. I don't even know, but it was about fans being really upset about the whole Larson Bubba Wallace deal, and people talking about how they would like rules to be in place so things like that couldn't happen, which we just got rid of the DVP in its original form to allow for these sort of things to happen. So that's not changing, and it's just a silly opinion anyway, especially as someone who's been, from me, all of us been watching for a long time, but that's just kind of how it used to be. You used to see some mangled pieces of shit coming out of the pits trying to make laps, so that's kind of a part of the sport. But anyway, this guy actually, his name is Doyle Hendricks. This is a very classic DARF of the week here, and I'm going to do my best to read this because this guy was either drunk or did not look while he was typing. He says, not that foreign FI F1. This is American racing, not that foreign junk.
Now,
and foreign is spelled FORGION, and junk has no N. So
I'll give him credit. This isn't that stupid of a comment. It's just
that's Brian's burner account.
Hey, listen, I can at least spell everything properly. It's not so much the comment is bad. It's just
it's the execution.
Yes, it's someone illiterate wrote this. So
So my sentence for him is I'm gonna assign him to 6 weeks of Mavis Beacon typing tutor.
There you go.
We're gonna bring him up to standard.
This guy is not getting the death penalty from me.
No, definitely, because it's you.
What a Doyle thing to do.
Yeah, definitely a very classic style dart for the week. And when we started doing this segment, this was very much the spirit of what we were looking for. Not just dumb opinions, but poor execution. And boy, this guy, he did not execute. Brian.
All right, Rob. Well, now it's time to dive into the septic tank.
Yeah, honestly, there's not a ton of racing to talk about. Pretty much everything got rained out this weekend. Of course, a huge storm system moved through the Midwest and the Southwest, and pretty much everything got canceled. Atomic, Outlaws at Arrowhead, both high limit shows, just everything. Even the icebreaker up here at Thompson got postponed yet again, which has been moved to Wednesday of next week, which is good news for me because it means I can actually go. Not a ton of racing action to talk about. The one thing that did happen, Smart Tour, was up in Orange County, up close to the Triangle in North Carolina. Ryan Newman picking up a win there. I think everyone was happy to see that. It was a great race. Very entertaining, very clean. Sometimes these smart races have a reputation for being a little wrecky. Not quite the same way as we saw in the Xfinity race at Martinsville, but still, they can be crash fest sometimes, but this one was certainly not that. And Ryan Newman getting a very popular win there. In the sprint car world, some bummer news here. Jacob Allen has decided to hang it up and step out of the 1A for the Shark Racing team. If you've listened to this show, you know I'm a huge Jacob Allen fan, as are a lot of people listening here, particularly Alex, who we had on earlier, who's actually ridden with them and gone to Knoxville and all that. Jacob, great dude, of course, son of Bobby Allen. An absolute legend. Jacob's been pounding the pavement for years and years and years. Definitely an underdog favorite. I don't think anyone was upset to ever see him do well, and particularly when he would win, it was always a big deal. Probably the highlight of his career was winning a prelim night at the Knoxville Nationals, which is about as cool as it gets if you can't win the big show. His last showing at Knoxville got a top 10 and took home a bunch of money for that. And he just had a kid, and I think he's kind of had his toe a little bit out of the water for a while now. He stepped out of the car, I believe it was last year or the year before. Not sure if he wanted to do it full time, but I think he's kind of realized that now that he's got a family, he's probably better served wrenching on the car. And he's still going to be involved with Shark Racing. In fact, Cale Thomas is going to be taking over the 1A starting this weekend at the World of Outlaws show at Peevely. So Cale's a good driver. I think that car is in capable hands. But yeah, I'm gonna tip my beer up to Jacob Allen for a career well run and a great guy at that. So we're going to miss seeing Jacob Allen out there for sure. And we're going to see what Cale Thomas can do in the 1A or whatever they decide to name it to. Probably the 1C, T? I don't know. Who fucking knows? When Tanner Holmes is in there, it was the 1T. So we'll see what they decide to change the number 2 because the 1A is kind of family. But anyway, speaking of guys being out of rides that I like, Landon Crawley is out over at Michael Dutcher, unfortunately. Landon is, of course, he's son of Tim Crawley, pretty well-known sprint car driver from Arkansas. I like him because of the close proximity to where my folks are from and the family tradition there. And just not going all that well for him this year. It kind of sounds like they made the decision to pull out. I don't know if they're going to be running the family car at the Outlaw shows coming up or whatever because he was committed to Outlaws full-time. But hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere. And we see him back out there because I always like pulling for Landon Crawley. Again, not getting the results that he's looking for, but he's got talent. So hoping they get that ship righted and we see him back out there soon. Speaking of guys hopping into cars they don't usually run, Ricky Thornton Jr. is running the Silver Crown race at Terre Haute this weekend. That's exciting news. I guess I didn't realize he hadn't run Silver Crown before. Those cars are bad to the fucking bone, and I love race car drivers that are willing to hop into anything, and Ricky's one of those guys, so I'm very curious to see how he does against the stars and cars of the Silver Crown Tour, which, of course, is very, very tough racing, which there is a good amount of racing this weekend. Like I said, Terre Haute is happening on Saturday. World of Outlaw late models are back. A very wet Farmer City. I've seen some pictures of the place today, and it's just about as muddy as Foxboro was for Supercross. So we'll see if they get that sorted out for Thursday night, or I guess tonight if you're listening to this podcast on release day. Spring Nationals are at Wheatland. Of course, that's a big dirt late model show. A lot of the big timers are going to be over at the World of Outlaws show at Farmer City, but I know Jonathan Davenport has entered at Wheatland, so that's going to be something to watch. And a lot of the MLRA, sort of expats after that series folded will be there, so that's going to be exciting to watch. That's on Flow Racing as well. World of Outlaws are at Peevely. Of course, that's Ken Schrader's track. The ASA series is going to be at Five Flags this weekend. Smart Tours at Hickory, and of course, we already mentioned Cordeal and the Cars Tour running there. And friend of the program, Buddy, excuse me. Buddy Foley's going to be there, and hopefully he comes on the show, and you'll be there as well. So
yes,
you'll be leading the septic tank next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
I am excited to finally see Keelan Harvick race.
Yes, and Dale Jr. of course is the big
Dale
story.
Jr. of course, up against Chad McCumbee.
Yeah, racing himself. But yeah, that's the septic tank, and since we were at Darlington this weekend and they have troughs as God intended, we're just going to let it quietly run off to the side as they do instead of flushing it. And I think it sounds like this.
Gross.
Well, yeah. That wasn't
Drains
piss.
out
That's just the that's the
I felt like I was there.
That's not piss. That's just the water that wipes the piss into the drain at the end. So.
Well, all right. Well, I guess that's time for video of the week then. Because we were going to be short on time, I just picked a couple videos. And did you guys see I added a third one?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we can talk about that too.
One? Yeah.
It's watchable. It's not that great, but I can understand why SNL themselves didn't want to post this one, but we'll get to that. So we watched a couple clips of Jeff Gordon on SNL from 2003. Which I know I definitely watched this live when it happened, and if you're not an SNL watcher, this is definitely one of those times when they get somebody who has zero acting experience or comedy experience on there, and they're just pretty fucking bad. But thankfully, I mean, this was a pretty good cast at the time, and they did a lot of the heavy lifting for Jeff, which started off right with the monologue. Jeff comes out and he's got this leather jacket on, and he starts off making a joke about comparing how dangerous it is driving a car, but that prepares him for this SNL experience. And he's interrupted by Chris Parnell and Rachel Dratch, who are dressed up as NASCAR fans sitting in the audience, and they're just hooting and hollering, and they go, Rusty Wallace sucks, and Tony Stewart sucks, and they're interrupting Jeff's monologue. They're wearing all this NASCAR gear. Oddly enough, Parnell is wearing a Bobby Labonte jacket, which doesn't make any sense. But, regardless, they do that. And Rachel starts yelling a bunch of facts about the car and, stats and stuff. And then she says, Chris goes, "Who needs a GED?" Which, as someone who kind of can't stand the stereotype of, NASCAR fans just being, dumbass Southerners. There are plenty of us that aren't that way. They were definitely playing that up.
Yeah,
Jeff, however,
Talladega Nights before Talladega Nights.
Yeah, for sure. But Jeff kind of calls him out. He's like, "You guys don't seem like real NASCAR fans, or this isn't how fans at the track act." And eventually, they let the ruse down that they live in Manhattan. They've been waiting 4 years to get into SNL, and they just wanted to make the most of it after, finally getting tickets to the show. But they do say that they are actual race fans, that they watched the race after doing the New York Times crossword puzzle. And this leads Jeff to invite them to come to the track and get pit passes and stuff. And then Rachel opens her jacket up, and she's got a very shitty portrait of Jeff painted on her chest. And yeah, like I said, Rachel and Chris do pretty much all the heavy lifting in this, which makes total sense because I can't imagine Jeff doing an entire monologue by himself.
God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he did talk, it was not good. So
No.
It just reminded me of how many commercials that man has done, because you can tell based off of his hand motions, like you just the full-on like commercial hand gestures that he did in all of his commercials were coming out in that one monologue.
Yep.
Yeah. The second video was the career day sketch, which this has Jeff playing a fighter pilot, and he's got Seth Meyers as the other dad doing the career day thing, and then Amy Poehler is the teacher. Now, again, Jeff is a fighter pilot. He says he's the Cougar is his nickname, and he's got kind of a southern accent going on a little bit. And Seth Meyers is a carpet salesman, and Amy Poehler, which we later learn is married to Seth in this skit, decides to let Jeff go first, completely overshadowing Seth's carpet salesman stories.
Yeah.
And obviously the kids are excited by Jeff and don't give a shit about Seth. At one point, Jeff, I forget which part of the skit this is in, but he's telling some story to the kids, and he completely fucks up his lines, like just mumbles for a good 2 or 3 sentences. You don't know what the hell he's saying. And then also, when they do the show and tell segment, Seth has just a book of carpet samples. Meanwhile, Jeff brought his jet to the fucking school, which that does not happen. So again, this was another skit that was completely carried by the actual comedians in there, and Jeff was just kind of doing like a Top Gun-ish thing.
Yeah, kind of a funny premise, but just not done all that well.
No, not at all. And then finally, so this was one that I didn't originally catch because it wasn't actually posted by the SNL YouTube account. This was kind of a shitty screen grab off a TV that somebody posted, but to me, it was Jeff's best performance on the show, and I do remember watching this and getting a kick out of it. Now, again, if you're not an SNL watcher, so the end of the show, like the last like half hour of the show goes, they do usually the second musical performance, because they always have a musical artist on the show, which this show is Avril Lavigne.
Yep.
Thankfully, we didn't have to sit through that, but they'll do Weekend Update, the second musical performance, and then there's usually 1 or 2 skits at the end of the show, and this is generally the spot where they pick the weirdest skit they have. Like, it's always going to be something random and bizarre, and usually sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. This one was good, though, I thought, and the premise was Chris Parnell is doing a show called the Terry Funk Hour, which for wrestling fans, you're going to hear that name and be like, how the fuck did they choose Terry Funk of all names for this skit?
Right.
But they spell it Funk, F-U-N-C-K, I guess. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I just personally, like, that perked me up. But basically the skit is this, I don't know if he's actually gay or if he's closeted or what, but he plays kind of like an incel type dude, and he's got like a little bit of a lisp going on and everything, and they're doing this. It's the first show he's ever put on in like his mom's basement, and Jeff Gordon plays his cousin, who is also the cameraman and the only guest on the show. And this is Jeff's, again, finest moment, because he is just playing this, like, he's an Olin Mills photographer who takes pictures of school kids, but he's just playing up this, like, badass, dumbass redneck guy. He's got a mullet on. He's got a satin jacket. He's doing kung fu moves. What the hell does he say? He says a couple things here that are pretty funny. I'm pulling my notes here. Let's see here. He's got a Fu Manchu. He goes, "The smell of your mom's laundry kicks ass," as he's pretending to shoot a machine gun. And he flaps around like a bird because that's how he gets the kids' attention when he's shooting photos. Again, this was only a 3-minute skit. It was definitely Jeff's best of the whole show. But I'm very glad this made it to the internet, because it was probably the funniest part of the show.
Yeah. I understand why they did not put it on the official one, but yeah, I agree. It's for as unwatchable as that clip is, it's by far the best one.
This lady's entire YouTube channel that this was on was nothing but iPhone videos of her TV.
I didn't go that far to see what else she had going, so that's funny.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I think Jeff is the only NASCAR driver, maybe the only race car driver ever to be on SNL. I believe Dale Jr. was asked at one point and turned it down. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing him talking about that. At
Probably
one point
saw
on his
Jeff
show
go
or
on
something,
first.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know if Jr. would have been any better. He probably would have been. I mean, Jr., just his natural personality is a lot more engaging than Jeff Gordon's is. But it certainly would have been interesting to see him try it. But yeah, any final notes from y'all? Did you guys actually watch this live like I did, or no?
I feel like I did.
I don't remember. I remember the leather jacket and being appalled because that's just not what I thought Jeff Gordon was supposed to look like. But I don't think I watched this one live. But I've seen these clips before.
Yeah.
And definitely, I'm glad this is on the video of the week playlist because I don't know if anyone's ever just put that thing on random and let whatever comes up come up. But this will be a funny little thing to add in there between the stop motion and sprint car videos and all that. So.
I was in third grade when it came out.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah, that's
no.
right. You're a few years younger than us, so that makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely didn't watch it live. I've watched it before, but one of those things that I don't even remember any of it up until what we just watched.
Yeah.
I have to imagine you can watch it in full somewhere on the internet. I don't know if I'll actually ever go back and do that. Maybe at some point, because I'd be interested to see what else is on there. But
Well, I love SNL. Like I enjoy watching it, the older stuff, but Peacock has all the episodes on there, and I didn't think anything of that until today.
That's right. Yeah.
Peacock has all those episodes, so they might have the whole thing in there
yeah,
somewhere.
I'm sure there was nothing on there that was offensive that would lead it to not be on there. So that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So, video of the week for next episode. Obviously NASCAR's in Bristol this weekend, but the weekend after is the return to Rockingham. And for this next episode, I picked two Rockingham videos of two moments that I vividly remember watching live as a kid, and are two really great moments of the track. We're going to watch RPM Tonight from October of 97. I don't want to watch the full races, but this is the race that Bobby Hamilton beat Dale Earnhardt by just nudging him a little bit coming out of turn 4 and passing him. And then we've got the last 3 laps of the 98 Busch race with Tony Stewart and Matt Kenseth going at it, and that was like a photo finish. So
Nice.
2 little clips that will be on the Video of the Week playlist for us to watch next week.
Hell yeah.
So as mentioned, NASCAR is in Bristol this coming weekend, and Truelove, you'll be there, right?
No, I'll be at Cordeal. Kyle will be there.
Oh, okay. Kyle will be there. Kyle probably won't be on the show next week, but Kyle will be there. And we'll all be watching at home, and we'll have Ashley's report from Cordeal. And that'll be back to our regular schedule. I don't know when we'll all be at another race together, but at some point later on in the year.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much thrown in a fanny pack this weekend.
Good, very, very good idea. No, get one of those clips.
Yeah.
Have
one of those necklaces.
Yeah, the belt clip.
Yeah, have a dad clip on the side of your pants there.
Yeah.
Right next to
I
your
did tell
knife.
my mom she needs one of those necklaces that holds her iPhone for years because she always drops it in the toilet. So.
Oh God.
Not that's over.
All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at meetmeatapplebees and on Twitter at meetmeatapplebees. Speedway Screens on all the things. SpeedwayTSJ.etsy.com is the shop, and MMA Applebees for 15% off at checkout.
Nice.
Nice. Well, it's still Snake Mountain _Truelove. I don't know what the cell phone coverage is like down there in Cordeal, Georgia, but maybe I'll share some stuff from the track.
I doubt you're going to have the same reception that we had at Darlington.
You're going to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Cordeal has
The
Wi-Fi
Dale
either.
Jr. effect where all the towers go down.
It's true.
Yeah,
but-
I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, this will be my first time at a racetrack that doesn't have an outside wall.
Oh,
So, curious about that. And also, happy early birthday to Rob. His birthday is this Friday. So.
oh
There you
yeah,
go.
that's right.
Happy early birthday.
I'd forgotten
Did
about
anything
that.
celebrate?
Well, I was going to go up to the Northeast Classic at Loudon, but of course, a big fucking surprise. It's going to rain this weekend, so they moved that even further back. But I'm just going to sit at home and watch Bristol, I think. Drink some beers and probably see some folks and just take it nice and easy because I've already celebrated my birthday twice this year at the Chili Bowl and then in Darlington. So, and technically Thompson as well. So, yeah, I've really gotten the mileage out of
just every race you go to until your actual birthday is a birthday celebration.
Exactly. Anytime I spend way too much money at something, it's just for my birthday. And then, yeah.
Birthday in January.
Yeah, fucking idiot. But yeah, Rob Motes _unofficial on Instagram. These Wild Plains is my band. I will be at Thompson next Wednesday. I mean, we'll have a show recorded before then, so I'll probably talk about it then. But if anyone's planning on going to the Icebreaker Day 2, Part 2, fucking 3 weeks later, however long it's been, come say what's up to me. I love a good Wednesday night show at Thompson, and we'll see if anyone else does besides me. And over to Kyle, one of our favorite guests. And again, it was great to hang out with you this weekend. Who are you, and do you have anything you want to tell them about?
I mean, not Kyle Petty, 39. It was great to interview everybody for the throwback weekend up on the stage. I had a great time.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Nothing really crazy to add, but just I had a blast this weekend, like you said. And thank you, Brien, to you and your parents for the hospitality this weekend. That was great. This was my first regular season full weekend with NASCAR, so that was great to do the whole weekend. But yeah, had a blast and can't wait to do it again. And thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, anytime, man. And yeah, it was nice to meet your stepdad, Brien. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, all three are all welcome to come if decide to go to the fall race or any of the races. So I mean, it's always there if you need it. So
hell yeah. I mean, anytime a parent comes along, I'm always. I'm sure everyone is nervous about this, but I know I can say some dumb shit sometimes. So I was like, I wonder if this guy's going to like me. But I made him laugh pretty quickly, and I was very surprised. And I was like, this is going to be good. And it was. So
yeah, no, my stepdad's pretty chill.
Good
so
guy.
You can say whatever. So yeah.
I introduced Brien to my mom last year at Bristol, and now I got to meet his parents. So I feel like we've crossed the real threshold here. So
yeah.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
My parents were big fans of you too. So as always, you're welcome. So yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Well, with that, looks like the check is here. So thanks again for joining us at Applebee's, and we'll talk to you all next week.